My dear friends, I hope this finds you well. Here we are 1 week away from Rosh Hashana, from a new year. Rosh Hashana is, of course, known as Yom HaZikaron, the Day of Remembrance. This is how it's referred to in the Torah, the way in which we relate to it in our prayers, the Day of Remembrance. And we know that this idea of memory plays an essential role in what Rosh Hashanah is all about, but it's a very cryptic idea. What does it mean to remember something? Tomorrow, it's Thursday for me, you might be watching this on Friday. Tomorrow is September 11th. And of course, we know that the events of September 11th changed the world, it changed foreign policy. Lots of things changed the world, but that was certainly it shifted the direction that the world was moving in. And many of you, like me, will remember exactly where you were on that moment. And the question is, how do we remember here on September 11th? How do we remember September 11th? And why do we remember? I listened recently to the series finale of the podcast Revisionist History by Malcolm Gladwell. His most recent season finished off with a really powerful message where he explored the difference between two different memorials. He went to visit the Ground Zero, the World Trade Center, the memorial for what happened on September 11th, and got an in-depth understanding about how they built the thing. And he compared that with what he would call a living memorial in Jacksonville, Florida, where people were trying to desperately track down the homeless people living on the streets there and do what they can to improve the lives of the homeless people. And Gladwell in the podcast did not for a moment suggest that we should not remember 9/11, that we should not build a beautiful, touching, deeply emotional memorial. It's necessary, it's needed for the families of those who were lost, for the wholeness of America, for everything that it represents. But he certainly took us on an exploration of how much money was being invested into it, even for the smallest details. Whereas then he looked at this program in Jacksonville, Florida, where they were looking after homeless people. They could not find enough housing for people because they were missing thousands of dollars. Thousands. Now, thousands of dollars for some people is a lot, but when you think about where we put money into, what we invest money into, sometimes we have to raise questions. And so that was Gladwell's premise. You can agree with that or not, but I certainly thought it was a powerful idea. Of course, September 11th should be memorialized. It was a traumatic event. Many lives were lost. But the question is, how is it best memorialized? Not as a monument necessarily, or as a monument, but maybe scaled down, and then that money used for education. That money, we're talking here about millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. That money used for something else. Looking after, again, it doesn't have to be homeless people. That was Gladwell's idea. But I think that this is an important one when we think about what memory is. Because memory is not just, I remember something and it's there, right? Okay, I remember, right? Even a monument, it's never about just, oh, I remember. It's, oh, here's this idea, here's this event, here is this concept which exists in the world which I'm now going to think about, and it's going to change who I am right now. It's going to change who I am in this very moment. And so any monument, any memory is conjured to impact who I am right now and who I'm going to be moving forward. And this is the primary action on Rosh Hashanah, on Yom HaZikaron, the day of remembrance. We say that God remembers. God always remembers. But as my father explained in the Art of Prayer workshop, which began last night in our shul, we are doing the remembering. We are remembering that God is aware of us. We are remembering, we're conjuring up this awareness that God is aware of us, and therefore my life, my days, my minutes need to be different, can be different. God is king, if you will, when we conjure up the memory of creation, if you will, and then crown God king, not through some intellectual idea, but through embodied behavior. This is really what memory is about. Of course, we know, and it's difficult, that we're not going to be in shul this year here in Victoria. I don't know where you are in the world watching this. We're not going to be in shul for Rosh Hashana, for Yom Kippur. But the deep message behind Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, the timeless ideas, the timeless emotions that are communicated on those holy days are still as accessible to us as ever. So Rosh Hashanah, or I would say like this first, 9/11 for me is a significant day as an American and as a human being and as someone who, I was 18 years old when that happened, 17. Changed my life, of course. But for me on this day, it's about remembering and mourning those who lost on that terrible day, but also thinking, okay, what am I doing about it today? How am I living my life differently today? And so too, Rosh Hashanah, the day of remembrance, it's not afar off. It is an act of awareness of God's intimate and personal connection with this world that should impact the way I live every single day. So my friends, I wish you a Shabbat Shalom. I'll be in touch a lot next week, I am sure. But I do want to wish you at this moment, once again, a Shana Tova, a good, happy, healthy, sweet new year for me, for you, and for the entire world.